In 1966, America was at the peak of prosperity. Cars were not just a means of transportation, but a declaration of social status. If you were a successful businessman, a politician, or a Hollywood star, your first choice was undoubtedly a Cadillac. And among all the dazzling Cadillacs, the 1966 Fleetwood Brougham stood out as the ultimate symbol of luxury and authority. This was not just a luxury car, it was the embodiment of the American design philosophy. The bigger, the bolder, the more prestigious. From its massive body length, an interior as comfortable as a living room on wheels, to its powerful V8 engine, the 1966 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham fully lived up to Cadillac's proud motto, "Standard of the world." But what makes this car truly special is the fact that it is remembered as the last ultra-luxurious Cadillac before that golden era came to an end. And today, we're going to discover exactly why. Throughout the first half of the 20th century, Cadillac defined the image of an American luxury brand. The slogan, "Standard of the world," was not just an advertising line. It reflected the belief that Cadillac was the benchmark against which all other automakers were measured. Especially in the 1960s, America's middle and upper classes flourished thanks to a booming economy. People turned to Cadillac as a clear symbol of success. A Cadillac did more than take you where you needed to go. It told the world you had reached the top. Within this picture, the Fleetwood line stood as the most prestigious. The name Fleetwood came from a renowned coach builder in Pennsylvania, which Cadillac acquired in 1925. For decades afterward, the name became a symbol of craftsmanship, distinction, and supreme luxury within the Cadillac family. If you saw the Fleetwood badge on a car, you could be certain it represented the pinnacle of comfort and quality. By 1966, the Fleetwood range included several variants: the 60 Special, the Fleetwood Brougham, the Eldorado convertible, and even a limousine reserved for dignitaries. As for the Brougham's appearance, if one word could describe it, that word would be majestic. At the front, it made a strong impression with a wide grille spanning the entire width, patterned in fine squares and framing dual headlamps. The chrome bumper shone like a mirror, catching the sunlight and highlighting the sense of grandeur. On the hood, the Cadillac crest, with its laurel wreath, proudly declared the status of its owner. From the side, its endless length became strikingly clear. A strong, horizontal character line ran from front to rear, creating a seamless, elegant profile. The 15-inch wheels were partially covered with gleaming chrome trim, both protective and ornamental, enhancing its imposing stance. The extended rear doors, a hallmark of the Brougham, made getting in and out easy, like stepping into a private limousine. At the rear, Cadillac cleverly preserved a subtle echo of the 1950s. The vertical taillights rose like restrained fins, slimmer and more refined, blending with the heavy chrome bumper. This combination made the Brougham both modern and nostalgic, reminding viewers of Cadillac's golden past while embracing contemporary style. Opening the heavy door of the Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham, you didn't just step into a car, you stepped into another world. A world where every detail was arranged to create absolute comfort and luxury. The wide seats, upholstered in soft leather or premium fabric, stretched like sofas, comfortably seating 3 adults on each row. All seats featured multi-way power adjustments, allowing passengers to find their perfect position. Higher trims even offered heated seats, providing warmth during cold winter days. Riding in a Brougham felt like sitting in a mobile living room, pampered in every way. The dashboard was a masterpiece of craftsmanship, combining polished wood veneer with refined chrome details. Clear analog gauges and a large chrome-trimmed three-spoke steering wheel gave a sense of sturdiness. Every knob and switch felt solid and precise, showing Cadillac's commitment to building a machine meant to last. A standout innovation was the Comfort Control climate system, one of the world's first automatic air conditioning systems. With a simple turn of a dial, the cabin temperature stayed constant, whether outside was blazing hot or freezing cold. This feature made the Brougham one of the most advanced and comfortable cars of its time. And Cadillac did not stop there. The car was equipped with luxuries such as power windows, power door locks, a high-quality AM/FM radio, and an optional tilt and telescopic steering wheel. Some Broughams even came with automatic headlight dimming, adjusting to ambient light to ensure perfect visibility. Even the smallest details were given thoughtful attention. The glove box could include a vanity mirror, while the rear seats sometimes featured fold-down armrests and individual reading lamps, transforming the cabin into a lounge-like space. All of this showed Cadillac's intent to make every passenger feel indulged, much like traveling in a limousine built for dignitaries. And beneath the massive hood, Cadillac equipped the car with the 429 cubic inch V8, one of the most powerful and refined engines it had ever built. This overhead valve engine produced about 340 horsepower and more than 480 pound-feet of torque. Those figures may not impress compared to modern supercars, but in 1966, they were remarkable. They gave a car weighing over 5,000 pounds the ability to accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 10 seconds, a performance that even many European sports cars of the era had to respect. Mated to the engine was the turbo-hydromatic 3-speed automatic transmission, famous for its smooth operation. On the highway, the Brougham could reach a top speed of around 120 miles per hour. But what fascinated people was not its outright speed. It was the ability to cruise at 70 miles per hour with almost no noise in the cabin. The engine's deep tone was reduced to little more than a whisper, a reminder of the immense power waiting beneath the hood. Against rivals such as the Lincoln Continental with its 4.62 V8 or the Chrysler Imperial with its 4.40 V8, Cadillac's 429 held its own. In fact, it excelled in its balance of power, durability, and refinement. To make the most of those strengths, Cadillac gave the Fleetwood Brougham a solid foundation. It used a body-on-frame construction with a wheelbase of nearly 130 inches, ensuring outstanding stability on wide American highways. The front suspension employed coil springs, while the rear used a solid axle with leaf springs. Yet thanks to Cadillac's careful tuning, the ride felt like gliding on a magic carpet. Road imperfections seemed to vanish, making passengers forget they were traveling over uneven pavement. Cadillac also added hydraulic power steering, which made turning the wheel of this enormous sedan surprisingly light. Driving felt effortless, almost detached from the usual strain of handling such a large car. The Brougham also offered optional front disc brakes, an advanced feature in 1966, providing reassurance when bringing over 2 tons of steel to a stop. All of this created a driving experience that was both relaxing and secure. It showed that Cadillac cared not only about engine power, but also about comfort and control. But to own a Fleetwood Brougham required paying a price that placed it firmly among the dreams of the elite. With a starting price of more than $6,500 in 1966, the Brougham stood at the top of the luxury sedan class, surpassing even the Lincoln Continental and Chrysler Imperial in perceived value. This reflected not only its premium equipment and materials, but also Cadillac's unmatched prestige in the eyes of its customers. The typical Brougham buyer was not someone looking for everyday practicality. They were businessmen, politicians, and famous artists. They chose Cadillac not just for durability or spaciousness, but because the car was a mirror of their success. Sitting inside a Brougham, they didn't need to say a word. The car itself declared their status. That is why the Brougham became the top choice for America's elite in the mid-1960s. But by the mid-1960s, the American luxury car market had become a fierce battlefield. The Lincoln Continental impressed with its squared-off modern design, carrying the dignified presence of a statesman's car. The Chrysler Imperial took a flashier approach, with abundant chrome and ornate details meant to grab attention. Yet Cadillac still stood above them all, thanks to its perfect balance of luxury, reliability, and brand prestige. What's remarkable is that even with a higher price tag than its rivals, the Fleetwood Brougham remained in demand because it embodied the image of being the standard of the world. For wealthy buyers, owning a Cadillac meant stepping into a class that no other American brand could offer. However, behind this glow of success, challenges were already on the horizon. Safety and emissions regulations were beginning to emerge, and European luxury brands were rising fast. And in this very context, the 1966 Fleetwood Brougham became a defining milestone, just before Cadillac entered a turbulent era. It was not only the company's most opulent sedan, but also the embodiment of Cadillac's philosophy at its finest. A car that was both imposing and refined, powerful enough to command respect from rivals in America and Europe alike. What stood out in the 1966 version was its remarkable balance. The exterior was majestic without being overdone. The interior was as carefully detailed as a high-class living room, and the 429 V8 delivered more power than anyone needed, yet with unmatched smoothness. All of these elements combined to leave a lasting impression that Cadillac was not simply building cars, but setting the standard for American success. But as the 1970s arrived, Cadillac faced challenges it had never seen before. Increasingly, strict safety and emissions laws forced the brand to cut engine power and add heavy equipment to meet regulations. Cars once admired for their strength and refinement began to lose their shine in the eyes of loyal customers. The 1973 oil crisis struck an even harder blow. Americans no longer desired massive sedans that burned fuel like water. They began looking for efficiency, and that was when Japanese and European automakers surged ahead. Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and later Lexus became formidable rivals, offering refinement and efficiency that Cadillac struggled to match. Cadillac's design during this era also lost much of its elegance. The cars grew boxy, bulky, and heavy, while build quality no longer inspired the same admiration as before. Instead of leading, Cadillac began chasing trends, trying to maintain its share, but no longer standing as the absolute standard. Today, when people mention the Fleetwood Brougham, they remember more than a luxury car. They remember an era when Cadillac truly was the standard of the world. That is why this model has become a prized collectible, highly sought after by classic car enthusiasts. At auctions, the value of a Brougham depends on its condition and originality. Well-preserved examples often bring between $25,000 and $40,000, while rare, perfectly maintained cars can exceed $100,000, $70,000. These numbers reflect more than monetary worth. They represent respect for an icon that vanished from modern production lines. What makes the Brougham so captivating is its combination of grand scale, lavish equipment, and craftsmanship. It holds not only historical significance, but also cultural meaning in America. Many car museums, classic exhibitions, and parades still reserve a place of honor for the Fleetwood Brougham, presenting it as a living symbol of the 1960s American dream. For collectors, owning this car is not just about keeping a vintage machine. It is about preserving the memory of a Cadillac unbound by emissions rules or fuel crises. It is the symbol of a time when luxury came first, without compromise. The 1966 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham stands as proof of a moment when the American auto industry dreamed the biggest. It was not simply a car, but a mirror reflecting a nation's belief that there were no limits to luxury. More than half a century later, this sedan still holds its allure. Not because of performance numbers, but because it carries the pride Cadillac once gave to America. Every glance back reveals a clear chapter in history, a time when power could be framed in steel, wood, and gleaming chrome. So, what do you think of the Cadillac once called the standard of the world? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to keep exploring the cars that shaped history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story.